It's a beautiful Saturday, and it's a Saturday that we are saying it's beautiful because the women's national soccer team made us proud within the course of the week, and we are still in a jovial mood and celebrating. But all the same, this is Off the Pitch, the show that gives you nothing but the best in terms of sports highlights. And I'm your host, Amos, aka Amore, and I'm joined by one Augustine. Augustine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Amos. It's always a pleasure to be here. We turn all the glory and honor to the Most High God. We thank Him for the gift of life and good health. It's really been a positive week. I think congrats to the Chipolo Polo for qualifying to the Africa Cup of Nations. We failed time and time again with the men's team. I think positives coming from the women's side. And another positive was seeing young Peter Chikola move to Austria for trials at Stamgras, where there is the young brother for Inokumepu, Francesco Mwepu. I think to me, he's one wonderful player when you watch him at Cafe Celtic, Peter Chikola. I think to me, he's come to the Super League, he's adapted very well. And we look forward to the fight for Catherine Piri. I think she's been out of the ring for a while now. I think to me, we cannot predict how the fight will turn out, but this opponent, remember, fought against our own Chipolo captain, Barbara, and lost the fight, and she can pick it up from there, I think to me. But it's worrying times because we haven't seen her in action for a while, but we just hope that she carries the day.
Anyway, she once was beaten by one Barbara Banda. A person who is full of talent, Augustine, I would say, because we've seen her represent us in athletics, we've seen her represent us as a football player, and she once represented us as a boxer. But we just wish all the best to Catherine Piri as they face each other tonight. But anyway, our prayers as well goes to the Ukrainian people who are, and I don't know how I would call that situation,
very, very
but
sad.
We keep on praying for them that this thing comes to an end.
And we've got Zambians in that area. I think to me, we've got Queens Kangwa and Ivan Russia right now. I think to me, it's not something which is very positive, and they're taking to the field against Sochi this afternoon in their Premier League. We just wish them all the very best. And we've seen these situations that are happening in Russia and Ukraine. We've seen Gazprom. I think they have been removed from more on the show as their main sponsors on their shirt. They removed Gazprom. We've seen Manchester United, I think, terminate the contract with one of the airlines which used to carry United to all the Champions League games. I think to me, you can see now the football family having a say. Yeah, I think to me it's very, very critical.
But even that's the removal of the UEFA game from there.
From there it is going to Paris. I think to me that's a very, very strong statement. It shows that football is really a uniting factor, and we do not want to see such division.
But the question still stands: is the Russian national team going to finish their qualifying games, because they are supposed to host a game? So it's up to the FIFA to decide on that, I guess.
And it's very, very tricky because what's happening in the UK Parliament right now is that they're debating on Roman Abramovich. I think to me, should he keep owning Chelsea? I think that's one thing which they are looking into, and it might be the end of Roman Abramovich's reign as
Chelsea
owner of Chelsea. Yes.
And for more and looking at the Absa draws that will take place, we'll just take a very short break as we come back and look at the tables and the Aiden League and more. For now, we'll take a very short break.
We still need more players, yes, because we need to balance the team. We need to have maybe on one position 3 or 4 players.
The third Camnet Stars football trial is on. This time, Camnet Stars are looking for young, talented and skilled soccer players between the age of 18 and 20 years old. Start your lucrative football career in Europe this July. If you know you are one of Zambia's best gifted soccer players, don't waste your time. On Sunday, the 12th March 2022, there will be trials for professional soccer stars. Venue, Kablonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Time, registration 13 hours. Kick-off 14 hours. 100 kwacha non-refundable shall be paid and your birth records must be produced upon registration. Camnet Stars, setting football standards for international market.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Augustine, a beautiful week it has been already, but you know, it was surprising when someone approached me and asked to say, have the women national team qualified? Because it ended in a 1-1 draw, and it was something that I felt to explain to them, because there is this away goal rule which was disqualified, and I felt, why is it still on here in Africa?
I think the away goes rule, it's a decision made by the association. Okay. I think the European Association thought that the away goes rule was probably something which they had to scrap off their rules, and it everywhere it's the same. We still apply those same away goals rules. South America is still applying, in Asia is still applying, and as well as in Africa the away goals rules is still applying. It's just that in Europe, where they have scrapped it off from their tournaments, but it applied. And going into the game against Namibia, we always knew that if we get a score draw out there, we qualify. I think to me the girls were very brave. I think to me to have come from a goal down, which I think to me is something which we need to work on as we go into the tournament, because our defending hasn't looked good on set plays. They need a lot of coaching. I think Bruce Mwape tactically needs to up his game. I think to me his changes, his tactical approach to games, the way he delays in trying to change the game, I think is something which he needs to improve going at the Africa Cup of Nations. I think it was a very, very positive and solid performance from the girls, looking at the fact that there was no Barbara Banda, there was no Margaret Bulemu. I think to me it was always going to be tough without two key players that have been very, very integral in our progress in this tournament. And the girls held their own. I think to me I was very, very impressed with Evelyn Susan Katongo. I think to me she's a very brilliant player. I think now I understand why Aaron Mwanga Jr. works really about this skill. I think to me she's a top talent of Zambian football, and you would see her she earn a very, very big contract in the coming years because she has got the ability. I think you saw the drive. She carried the team on her shoulders. I think she was very brave to make those positive passes. She took the risk when it needed to happen. She had shots on goal. I think to me her all-round game was very, very impressive on the day for a very, very young lad. I think that's very positive.
But let's look at when attacking. You saw we had a lot of attacking chances, but the finishing part was very bad. We failed to utilize on the finishing part. And mostly, a lot of people would say, is it the issue of being too dependent on one Barbara Banda? Because assume she played both games, how many goals were going to be scored? So what should the coach work on in terms of having a lot of scorers at the end of the day?
I think to me, if you look at these girls in the league, I think I've got Grace Chanda. She was the leading scorer last season. There's Teresa from GBFC. She was the leading scorer for GBFC. And we had Ochumba Osaka from Red Arrows. She's also a prolific goal scorer. But you can see that the higher the stage, the pressure becomes big for these young ladies. I think it's something which needs just psyching, trying to have them gain that composure in front of goal. And it's always positive for a team which creates, because they're just lacking in scoring rather than a team that cannot create. But this team, there's a lot of positivity. We can create. I think the only undoing part has been our finishing side, which they can work on. I think we have got a couple of months left before the tournament. They can work tirelessly on their finishing. I think to me it's a message which has to be relayed to their respective clubs where they come from. I think to me if they can pick that up from the clubs where they come from, I think we've got Ellen Muanga in Spain. She can come in at the tournament and do some wonders. We've got Ras. I think to me we've got Barbara Banda, we've got Misozi Zulu. I think to me we just need to work in terms of the composure of these girls in front of goal. I think to me positives are there. We are creating chances. I think the goal scorer Mapepa, I think to me even at Ngoroma Stadium she had a lot of chances. We could have won the game here, but she wasn't very confident in front of goal. They can only learn and get better, and we just hope that we go at the tournament and do better.
Any surprising was the starting 11 the one that you expected?
Yeah, I think to me if you've been watching the Women's League, I think probably we picked up a very, very strong side on the day. These girls have been doing very well. I think to me, even the bench that we had, I think we had a very, very rich bench. Players can come from there and change the dimension, and it's always positive because this team now we expect a lot from them, because look at where they started. Was it 2017, 2016 when they qualified for the Costa Rica Under-17 World Cup? It all started from back there. I think to me they've been progressing patiently, and you can see now they have matured into a side which will be a force not just in Southern Africa but in Africa, because we were the only representatives at the Olympics, and now a lot of it is expected from us, and we hope when we go to the tournament we try and get at least close to the semi-finals, not the group stage elimination.
And we saw the First Lady having a luncheon for the ladies, and that showed that they are representing as well. But anyway, for you, our viewers, you can call in and give us your view in how
looking at that invitation by State House, I think to me the most disappointing thing is that most of those officials we saw at the event, you do not see them at the event. I think to me this is something which has to be brought to the light and be talked about. I think to me we have been calling for Zambian women's football to improve, but how much are these so-called officials doing to help this game improve? I think they all turned up when it was time to party at the State House, but when the going gets tough, I think to me no one is there to try and speak for these girls. I think to me, do you have an idea how much these girls get paid? I think compared to the men's team, I think to me this is something which these officials need to be fighting for, to try and have these girls have decent allowances so that they can look at football as a career, not just something which is a part-time thing. I think to me they just shouldn't show up when it's time to party at the State House.
I think that's Augustine giving his view, and which is true. We saw a lot of officials there at State House, but at the end of the day, who gives in? And mostly, when you look at it, Augustine, there is one Pastor Peter Makembo, someone who is following that critical game. Was he there? That's one question.
That's the biggest problem. Yeah, I think to me, we look at the women's game as something which is mostly, it's just most like giving back to the community. Do not take it seriously like the men's we do. You see every qualifier for the men's, it's live on TV. I think to me, it's showed on TV. You look at just the marketing side of things. When the Zambian senior national team is playing, the whole country knows that they are playing. But when it comes to women's football, less publicity. I think it's something which we need to improve, even us from the media side. We've seen people like Moses Pedro doing a fantastic way to try and improve Zambian women's football here. We've seen Aaron Muwanga, he does a lot of work in wanting to improve women's football. Jane Dunta Mwemba, I think to me it's something which we need to see everyone come on board and try to improve our football.
But the question still goes back, Augustine. We saw the game that was played at home. The question was there to say, earlier it was announced that the game was supposed to be shown at the named TV station, but within the course of a day the game wasn't aired. And like you've said, who is to be blamed?
I think it's more of issues of sponsorship. I think to me we overlook women's football, and we do not see it as a platform where we can try and sell our products. I think to me companies and corporate worlds need to come in and try to help this women's football grow. I think to me these steps that these ladies have taken, I think these are very, very huge steps. I think we are going to play at the biggest showpiece of African football. I think to me that's a big positive and a plus in terms of Zambian women's football. And we need to see a lot of support from the women themselves. I think the fans, they need to turn up in the stadium and support their fellow women. I think to me it's something which we need to try and emphasize and help to see grow in Zambian football. We need to see large turnouts for the women's game as well.
Big ups to the person who streamed the game. That was there on the first page, if I'm not mistaken. The streaming was a bit neither here or there, but we managed to follow the game. But it's very disappointing to see the women's national soccer team not being beamed live on TV, because that was one of the biggest games that they had, because it was a qualifying game. And big ups to Uncle Safa, of course, for giving us that live view. But then, Augustine, away from the women's national soccer team, let's look at the draws that are supposed to take place. That's on Tuesday. That's the 1st of March. That's the Absa Cup Draw. Any interesting games that we are seeing coming from this first draw?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see who draws who. I think from what we got is that Red Arrows, Zesco United, Ghana and Green Eagles are seeded. Then the rest are probably in the other pot. So we'll probably see a matchup of Napsa Stars maybe coming up against Zesco United. We may see maybe Lumana Radiants coming up against Ghana Football Club. I think to me, the good part about cup games is that every game is a final, because you cannot afford to lose and think you will recover. It's not like the league you lose and you recover, but for cup competition it's there and then you need to get the job done. And we saw like what we saw last season, the romance it brought. I think Konkola Blades, a lower league team, beating Forest Rangers, are getting into the semi-finals, and we saw Zesco United sweating against was it Kansanshi Dynamo, which they were taken up to the penalties. I think to me it's just the romance which these cup games bring. I think you remember the inauguration of this when it was called the Barclays Cup back then. I think it was won by Power Dynamos, beating Chambeshi in the finals. It started as a 16 teams tournament, but now it has reduced to 8, and our plea and our cry as football fans is that can we increase this probably to everyone participating. We remember we had Mosi Cups which started from the lower leagues. Everyone will participate. They will start eliminating each other until it reaches the stage where now the Premier League teams come in. I think to me we can do the same with this Absa Cup. I think to me I do not see a reason why we keep on playing these 8 teams, because it doesn't give everyone a chance to play at the only cup competition.
And maybe, Augustine, the question still comes in to say, but what happens to these teams that are playing division leagues? Because let's look, there's Division 1, there's Division 2, there's Amateur, there's Super Amateur. If they're failing to have such teams in these tournaments, why don't they just have a tournament that will consist of those teams? Because in as much as we are concerned, we've been playing, Augustine, here on the show to say, look at this stadium that these teams use. Maybe once they play in such a tournament, development will be seen.
Exactly. I think to me, remember the Mosi Cup, I think it brought a lot of love and excitement to the fans.
And a lot of stars were born as well.
Sometimes I think I remember a game where Power Dynamo was it going to Tumbala to play a Division 2 side. I think the way in Mosi Cup they went there and the turnout was very, very huge. I think to me there are areas like in Chipata, you see the way they turn out for league games. Just imagine if Zesco United went there to play a cup game, how big it would be for the town and for the players to showcase their talent. Yeah. I think to me, it would be a very, very big pool for talent identification and scouting for these Super League teams. I think to me, something which the Football Association of Zambia, together with Absa, need to sit down and look into it. How do we help develop Zambian football? I think this can be one way when we try and spread this cup competition to all the leagues so that everyone can participate. We may see an incident whereby a Division 2 side, maybe in Southern Province, is playing maybe in Ghana Football Club. I think to me it gives them the chance to see Ghana up close. Maybe you go to Sorowezi or Mongo to a Power Dynamos. It's another opportunity for them to see these stars they have been watching on TV to play with them. I think it will be a very good motivation for these young lads, and it will help in the growth of Zambian football, because it will be good exposure for these young talent, and it will be good platform for these clubs to scout for these Road Diamond.
Because that's how I feel mostly. I feel like these other leagues or maybe other divisions are just overlooked. But hopefully, let's look at the disappointing year of one Lusaka Dynamos. They won the Absa Cup last year, but failed to qualify this time around.
I think it's all about things fall apart at Lusaka Dynamos within a blink of an eye. I think to me, this time last year, I think they were in the competition trying to win it, but we've seen how things have turned, how tables have turned. They went into the Absa Cup, upsetted the odds by beating Zesco United on post-match penalties. It was the first title they had won since 2007 when they won the BP Cup tournament, which Joshua Nkoma scored against the same Zesco United at Anchanga Stadium. I think to me, you would have thought that would have been the benchmark, that would have been the first step to a successful Lusaka Dynamos, but it has proven to be the opposite, and it's a disappointing that now they are fearing being relegated. A team which is just from winning the Absa Cup, a team which was tipped to play continental football, it hasn't happened. I think to me it's very disappointing to see Lusaka Dynamos fall to these levels.
So anyway, the Absa draws are on Tuesday, and the teams that qualified for this tournament, that's the Super League teams, Green Buffaloes, Green Eagles, Zesco United, and Red Arrows, Nkana and Nkwazi, while NAPSA and Lumwana Radiance qualified for this year's tournament. That's from the Division 1 side. So hopefully we'll see an interesting draw, because here people would say NAPSA Stars and Lumwana Radiance, these, for me, I can say these are the underdogs because they've tasted Premier League before.
Yeah, even if you look at their roster, the kind of players that they have, I think to me you see players that have been exposed at the highest level. These are players that have played international football, the likes of David Odiambo, they played continental football. Luka Banda, not recently, was marshalling the defense for the Chipolopolo. So they cannot be phased by playing in Zesco United. I think they are not inferior because they are a Super League side. It's just that unfortunately they got relegated last season. Same applies to Lumwana Radiance. I think to me they have got the likes of Joshua Kasusu, played at Nkana, played at Red Arrows. I think to me he has a lot of experience in him. They've got Edward Chilufya, a young centre back who was promising at Lusaka Dynamos at one point, then he lost his way. If you look at, they've got Dida, I think the goalkeeper who was with Security. They've got a lot of experience in their team and they cannot be faced by this stage. It's just that it's just the name that they're playing in a provincial, in the National League, but the Super League side.
Let's see. Let's look at the run of Red Arrows. They've been playing some awesome football in the league. Are we seeing them doing the same in this Absa Cup, or maybe their concentration will be much on winning the title?
Red Arrows have missed out from playing the Absa Cup since 2013 when they last won it against Anchanga Rangers. So Red Arrows will come in with positive vibes because the last time they played in the Absa Cup, they won it. I think the likes of Yusuf Saddam were part of that team and played an integral part. Benedict Chepeshi was more of a reserve player, but he was part of the team during that time. The likes of George Mandu. So they have got players who've experienced this and know what it takes to win it. Kenny Mumba made his debut in the final against Changa Rangers, so it gives them a lot of positivity. If you look at Red Arrows, which one do they want to go for? Is it the league title or the Absa Cup? I think to me they need to, if you are going to be champions of the land, you need to fight on both fronts and try to win them both and try and show the country that you merit being the champions of the land if that comes to happen at the end of the year. You've seen Zesco United win a double. I think to me what can stop Red Arrows with their good form? We see GBFC, another interesting side. They won it, beating Kwazi 2-0 Koloma Stadium in the Barclays Cup. They have got that feel good factor. They've won their last 2 games. They'll be looking at this opportunity for silverware to try and boost their confidence and get going next season. Green Eagles are one of those sides which I would love to see do well in the cup competition because they've been neither here nor there. They haven't done well in this cup competition. Can they try and get this one serious? If they can win the cup competition and qualify for continental football, that will be a very, very successful season for the Choma outfit. I think to me, Nkana, they also want to have their name thrown in winning this title. Nkwazi, they've been in the final. Can they duplicate that? That remains to be seen. We've got Lumwana Radiance and NAPSA who have got an outside chance, but will try and upset the odds when it comes to the romance of the cup competitions.
Anyway, those are the teams that are there in the Absa waiting for draws. Who is going to play who, and it will be done on a Tuesday. But for now, let's just take a look at some of the games that were played, Augustine, within the course of the week. That's in the MTN Super League, which was week 24. These are the results, Augustine. For me, an interesting fixture was the game Zesco United against Ghana. Something that we saw a Zesco United team crumbling here and there, but we saw them beating Ghana by 2-1. Imagine the noise that was there.
I think, to me, if I say the first 45 minutes was the best football I've ever seen being played by a side, this football that Zesco United played on the day, I think, to me, they were unstoppable. Their movement, their passing, I think, to me, they played around that Ghana team. I think, to me, that was the best I've seen from a team can play in one half. I think, to me, if Zesco United can have consistency and play like they played in the first half for large parts of the game, I think they'll be leading the league or maybe being very, very close to Red Arrows. I think one thing that I saw in that game is that most of these Ghana players are inexperienced, and when the stage gets to them, I think, to me, they falter. I think, to me, a good example was the young Lumbia in midfield. I think, to me, when we saw him against Power Dynamos in that local derby, it was, wow, this boy is a top talent. I think, to me, when these big games came calling against Red Arrows, he was being passed around in midfield. Against Zesco United, was being passed around in midfield. You can see that the boy is only learning and trying to get better. Lusaka Dynamos 1-1 draw against Power Dynamos. I think, to me, that's very, very disappointing on the part of Power Dynamos. You should be winning those games. Drama in the Friday game when Red Arrows beat Prison Leopards. I think positivity is Luchanga. Gonline Luchanga, I think, to me, very, very positive guy. I think he's getting there. Chambeshi, this is one reason I said they'll get relegated. They got beat against a relegation threatened side. Konkola plays at home. Tapson Kasela is giving them hope that they can stay up. Cow Warriors versus Green Eagles, another game which shows that Green Eagles mean business away in Kawe and getting a very, very positive result. Mkwazi dropping points against Buildicon. Buildicon enjoy playing away from home. They like to play on a counter. Zesco United against Ghana. This was the game of the week. I think, to me, we saw some brilliant football in this game. Kansashi Dynamos, Kafio Celtic, what a game. I think 5 goals in one game. Kangwanda scored one of the goals of the season. You have to see the game. The goal, it was beautifully taken. Indeni losing to GBFC. GBFC have rediscovered their form and they got a very, very big win in Dola against Indeni. We saw them get back into the top 4.
But let's look at the great performance that Kansashi Dynamos is having so far. Jackson, Jesse were giving them those goals, and we saw one Bruce Musakanya showing the skill that he shows by going on the score sheet.
I think, to me, Bruce Msakanya is very, very key to this Kansashi Dynamo side, the way they play football. I think he's that guy who is going to be the glue, the connection between the midfield and the attack. I think he picks those little pockets of spaces. He's technically gifted. I think, to me, he makes things happen even in tight areas. He picks a pass, he sees a pass. I think, to me, you can see Jesse Jackson where he's enjoying playing alongside Bruce Msakanya. They had that chemistry a bit at Zesco United, although it didn't work out very well for Bruce Msakanya. But you can see they're bringing the experience to this Kansashi Dynamo side, and it's getting the job done slowly but surely. They're getting out of trouble, Kansashi Dynamos, and getting to safe land. I think it was an exciting game because they played against a free-flowing Kafio Celtic, a team which is very brave. They like to attack teams. They like to be positive, and it was one game of the week. I think, to me, even that game, I think producing 5 goals is not a joke. Kansashi Dynamos, they're getting the job done. Boyd Murwanda, masterpiece. I think he's been the signing of the season for Kansashi Dynamos.
If we can just have a display of the table before we look at the games that are being played today, that's in the MTN Super League. If we can just see Augustine there, that's how the log is after the games that we are just from seeing the last 3 games. But let's look at going into this week's game. That's how the table looks like.
And credit to Bwezanimbewe, Ketesi
of Bwezanimbewe.
The table, yeah. If you look at the top, I think, to me, it looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race. 5 points separating the first and the third team. I think, to me, I do not see any team that will break into that top 3. Apart from those 3, they will take it to the wire. I think, to be, it's interesting. GBFC, even going 11 games without victory, they still find themselves in the top 4. I think you can see that they really did very well in the first round, GBFC, and it has kept them where they are right now. Building on with that outside chance of trying to make continental football, but I do not think they will make it. I think, to me, they do not have what it takes to make continental football, but they're getting the job done. They're upsetting the odds, because probably a lot would have predicted Building would have on the other side of the table, trying to survive relegation. Power Dynamos, I think this is one club. This week you see them, they look like a team that will win the league title. They look like a team that will play continental football. The following week they look like a team that will get relegated. I think there's no consistency with this Power Dynamos. Ghana Football Club, they need to find consistency as well if they're going to make the top 4. GBFC are slowly but surely getting back into their rhythm and trying to fight for continental places. If you look at starting from number 1 up to number 10, somewhere number 9, where there's Sky Warriors, I think everyone there has got a chance to qualify for continental football. Zanaco, very, very disappointing this season. They need to up their game. Forest Rangers, likewise, they have been one of the most disappointing sides this season so far. Kansashi Dynamos, they are getting away from relegation zone. Prison Leopards, they are being dragged because they have lost a couple of games. Indeni, when Dabi Chufia went in, he transformed their looks. I think, to me, if you look at those guys in the red zone, Kafue Celtic, Chambishi, Kongola Blades, and Lusaka Dynamos. You remember at the start of the season, I predicted Kafue Celtic, Chambishi, Kongola Blades, and Indeni will get relegated. And from my prediction, only Indeni is in dry land, and
Lusaka Dynamos are taking their place.
Dynamos have taken over their place, and now, if you look at these teams in the bottom 4, I do not think they will survive relegation. These 4 are the teams that will get relegated.
They won't survive.
They won't.
But going into the games that are being played this week, after looking at that table, Augustine, we are seeing those are the games, Augustine, that we have for this week. And then we've got Beautycon, which is postponed. That's Beautycon against Zanaco because of CAF. Zanaco is playing into the CAF. But let's look at the teams that are being relegated, Augustine.
I think if you look at these games, these are very, very mouth-watering fixtures. We start with the Kongola Blades versus Indeni. Indeni, they seem to have found the right formula, got a draw against Red Arrows, got a big win against Sky Warriors, and now they seem to have gone back to their poor performances in Indeni. They are facing a Kongola Blades side who have picked up good results in the last 5 weeks. A draw against Arrows, a win against Chambishi, which gave them those positive vibes. A draw against Zanaco, it gives them those positive vibes that they can stay up. And this is a 6-pointer again in Chizawombo, and I fancy Kongola Blades winning this one. Green Eagles against Chambishi. Green Eagles look too strong for Chambishi. Unless Chambishi pull up a miracle like they did at Tenkana Stadium, but Green Eagles look favorites for this one. Nkana against Kansashi Dynamos. This one is a crack of the week. I think this game is going to be, there will be fireworks in this game. Jesse Jackson Were enjoys scoring at Tenkana Stadium. Nkana Stadium is Jesse Jackson's second home. Nkana has to be wary, but I feel Nkana will edge this one 2-1. Quicksilver, having the knowledge of Kansashi Dynamos being their former coach. Prison Leopards will host Kawaias in that Kawe derby. I think this game is very, very big, very, very big for Kawe people. I think, to me, if you go right now in Kawe, there's a buzz because of this game. Prison Leopards from a loss, Kawaias from a loss. They'll go head to head. I think I see a draw in this one because there'll be a lot of fireworks again in this one. Lusaka Dynamos, that's facing Edwin Imboela playing the young Kafue Celtic who love to play beautiful passing football. Lusaka Dynamos, they look youthful as well. I think, to me, this game will be very, very crucial. It's one of those games with both teams being relegation. 50-50 game. I see a draw in that one as well. Zesco United, GBFC. Zesco United, last 5 games, they've won 4, drawn 1 and lost 1. Coming up against a GBFC side who's won back-to-back. This game is one of those which will decide where this title goes, because if Zesco United drop points against GBFC, then it will start looking bad for them, and I see a draw in that one. I think to me it's going to be a very, very cagey match. Power Dynamos have not beaten Nkwazi at the Arthur Davis Stadium since 2016. So Nkwazi will go into this game with a lot of confidence and try and upset the odds, but I feel Power Dynamos will just be too strong for this Nkwazi side. Red Arrows away to Forest Rangers, another big game. I think to me the last 26 meetings between them, it has been dominated by draws. I think if I'm not mistaken, these 16 draws between the team. The last 6 games have had 4 draws, 1 win for Arrows and 1 win for Forest Rangers. It's one of those games which look like it's going to be a draw as well.
But let's look at the Arrows game, which is destined, which is just focused on, in terms of scooping that league. They know if they drop points, it's just those people who are looking ahead or behind their shoulders. Are we seeing Red Arrows dropping points, Augustine, or just a point?
I think mentally they need to be strong if they have to come out with 3 points at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, because the dimensions and the tables have changed, because everyone now wants to beat Red Arrows. It's a different ball game. Whenever you come up with Red Arrows, everyone wants to beat them, and they need to show character and personality if they want to win this game, and unity. But with Forest Rangers defense being a little slow, if Red Arrows can capitalize it, then Red Arrows can carry the day.
And those are some of the games that are being played, and we saw a cracker of the game that Augustine has said, that's between Ghana, who are going to host Kansanshi Dynamo, sorry, and it's being played today.
I think we need to see a change in terms of Power Dynamos, the way they play. I watched them a couple of weeks ago when they played Cafe Celtic. You can see that these Power Dynamos do not have the quality. I think to me, we have to be honest, they've changed coaches recently, but how about the players? I think that dressing room consistently remains to be the same, and to me, I think it's average. Let's just be honest, they do not have that quality. They were trying to build from the back against Cafe Celtic, but they cannot do that. They do not have the personnel to do that, Power Dynamos, anymore. Yes, you want to play the Power Dynamos way, but do you have the personnel to play the Power Dynamos way? I think it's something which they need to work on. Brian Mwina was brought in to score goals. He's doing the opposite currently. He's just missing from whatever angle, from whatever position. I think to me it's very, very bad for Power Dynamos. The only positive we get from Power Dynamos now is the young Joshua Mutale Budo. He's the only positive for coming out.
I think that's the biggest question that is supposed to be asked. Do certain teams, why is it that all the time the coach gets to be punished? But you've brought up a very, very interesting point where when is the board going to think of what if it's the players with the problem?
I think that's the only way I think about Dynamos. I think to me, you've sacked top coaches in Perry Mutapa, you've sacked Masaso Tembo, and you've seen where they have gone and how they've transformed the teams. They have gone to Musa and Napsa. And now you brought in Mwenyash people. He came with a lot of fire, yes. Galvanized the troops, got them going again, but you can see now their performances are lackluster. They are not only inconsistent in between games, but even during games, I think to me you see Power Dynamos missing in games. They play 10 minutes, then they are outplayed for the next 20 minutes, and then they come out. I think to me they need to find consistency even in games. If they have to find consistency between games, they need to bring in the right personnel. I think to me, I felt the last 3 managers haven't been backed correctly in the transfer market. They need to look at their structures, Power Dynamos, and go big in the next transfer market. I think to me, you see players like Luka Chamanga, he comes in with a lot of fire. As time goes by, you see that fire dying. I think to me, you see Godfrey Ngwenya, he started this season on fire, but the fire is slowly dying. What's wrong is that the environment, I think to me, it's not challenging enough. It's not demanding enough. I think to me, Power Dynamos have now started settling for less, which is the reason why we're seeing these mediocre performances. Power Dynamos, they need to look at themselves and wake up, because they're a sleeping giant. They need to be challenging for big trophies and silverware.
And let's just look at the table, the race in the Division 1, the race to promotion, Augustine, because it's getting hot and hot. That's a quick one, Augustine, before we just go on a break. Let's look at, some time back it was Napsa Stars running away.
Yes.
But now they started
run away leaders. I think Mr. Rapson Sikombe said that it's going to be a 2-horse race at some point, because Napsa Stars and Lumana Regions were cut amongst the race. I think to me they are playing very good football. But now you've seen Napsa Stars inconsistency in their last 5 games. They've only picked 2 victories. they won against Kaiser was very impressive last week. They scored 4 goals. Absa Stars haven't been scoring a lot of goals, and I think it's one reason which they have been found wanting in the second round, because you need to score at least 2 goals, to win a game. But now you see Absa Stars only managed to score 1 goal in most of their games, but they need to get their act right if they have to win promotion. Musa have come out from the dead. I think to me, Masaso Tembo went in and has made them a different side, and they have shoot up to the second. I think to me, another impressive side is Young Green Eagles, how they found themselves on position number 4. I think to me, they didn't start the first round very well. Young Green Eagles, it was a side which was in the Premier League last season. They didn't start very well. I think to me, they were affected by being relegated in the boardroom. Probably affected their first round, but now they have galvanized and got going again. Trident, they're one exciting side. Are they good enough for the Premier League? That remains to be seen. Janga Rangers, an outsider. Every season they are outsiders. Can they get the job done this season? I think to me, this is a side which has got good sponsorship and wonderful players. We need to see them back in the Premier League, because they have got a fantastic fan base in Janga Rangers. They're a team which has to be participating in the Premier League. I think to me, if we go down the table, we look at Kaiser. I think to me, Kaiser, Karumbira, Police College and Livingston Pirates, I think to me are the biggest losers in that relegation zone.
How do you play 23 games?
They played very, very well last season with Livingston Pirates, but I think to me, wrangles in and around the football club has costed Livingston Pirates to be where they are. I think to me, people thinking they have got a lot of power more than anyone else. The greatest escape, I'll confess this season, is Zesco Malaita. I think I never saw them going high up the table. I thought they were going to be relegated. And there's been a change at Zesco United. Noah Piri has moved to Zesco Livingstone, and then the Lupia, who was assistant to George Wandamina, has come to Zesco Malaiti. Probably now their fortunes will change tremendously and be a mid-table team, we hope.
Anyway, those are tables courtesy of Bwezani Mbewe giving us all those tables, and hopefully he'll continue doing a great job. For now, we'll just take a very short break as we come back and look at the European games and the past games that we have played. That's the UEFA. For now, we'll take a very short break.
We still need more players, yes, because we need to balance the team. We need to have maybe on one position 3 or 4 players.
The third Camnet Stars football trial is on. This time, Camnet Stars are looking for young, talented and skilled soccer players between the age of 18 and 20 years old. Start your lucrative football career in Europe this July. If you know you are one of Zambia's best gifted soccer players, don't waste your time. On Sunday, the 12th March 2022, there will be trials for professional soccer stars. Venue, Kablonga Boys Secondary School grounds. Time, registration 13 hours. Kick-off 14 hours. 100 kwacha non-refundable shall be paid, and your birth records must be produced upon registration. Camnet Stars, setting football standards for international market.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Camnet Stars, they are wanting to form a team, I would say, a team that will be selected across the country, and that team has to travel to Europe, where they will participate in a tournament there. So trials are on. That's on the 12th of March, which is a youth day for me, if I'm not mistaken. It's a youth day, so prepare your boots, guys, your kit and everything, so that you'll be able to participate in those trials. Augustine, let's look at the biggest games that we have played within the course of the week. That's the biggest tournament that we have. That's the UEFA Champions League. We saw an awful game being played by Atletico Madrid, wanting to defend that goal.
I think to me, if there's one side which I do not enjoy watching in the Champions League or in the Spanish League, I think it's Atletico Madrid. I think to me, that way of football, I think to me, there's no right or wrong way of playing football, but I think to me, Atletico style is anti-football. They're trying to be very, very defensive. They've got a lot of attacking talent, a lot of gifted players, I think, being wasted to defend for their lives. I think you look at the young Rodente being played at right back. He's very, very progressive. He's being played as a positive line. But look at the numbers. I think to me, Atletico Madrid playing a game against a struggling Manchester United at home and having 37% of the ball, and Manchester United dominate teams, but they have got 63%. And then you look at the passes. Atletico 305, Man United 504. In a midfield where Fred is, who makes a lot of wrong passes, and then I think to me it's very, very disappointing looking at the pass accuracy. And Atletico Madrid, I thought, playing at the Wanda Metropolitano, I think to me they would have wanted to have an advantage, not just a one-goal advantage. They could have tried and gone for 2 or 3, because United at 1-0, they looked very nervous. They looked like they were going to concede the second goal, and then they allowed Manchester United in the second half to grow in the game. And you saw now Bruno Fernandes having a lot of influence on the ball, and he made that beautiful pass to Anthony Langa. Because Bruno takes the risk, he can make those passes, and it's advantage United now going into the second leg.
Let's look at Pogba being substituted. We saw the reaction that he gave. Was it the right decision?
I think to me, if you ask me, Paul Pogba is one of the most overrated footballers in the world. I put him in the same brackets with Neymar. I think to me, I do not see these guys being really top class players, because they do not have that consistency. Big players have got consistency. A good example is Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. For over 15 years, being consistent at the highest level, and people brand Pogba as one of the best players. What has he done? I think to me, the only time Pogba had a good season was in Juventus. That's the only time Pogba had a decent season. So what has he been doing in his 5 years at Manchester United? It shows that this guy is just an average guy. He's just overrated and overhyped for no reason. Ralf Rangnick is showing that he's the head of the club, and is making decisions not for individuals but for the football club. Ronaldo reacted when he was substituted and against Brentford. Pogba did the same. I think to me, the manager is showing that he's the one who is in charge.
And the boss.
And this United team needs a whip with them. I think the coach needs to be whipping them, because they lack discipline and they disrespect the football club.
Let's look at the Juventus game, Augustine, because I'm just picking games that are of interesting. We saw the game that one Dusan Vlahovic scoring in seconds.
I think to me it was amazing. Dusan Vlahovic, how he scored his first goal in the Champions League on his debut in the Champions League. I think to me it took him seconds to score in the Champions League. Fiorentina, I think to me, made one of the best strikers in European football at the moment. Arsenal missed out on signing this guy in January. I think they could have done what they did to sign Vlahovic and bring him at the Emirates, and you can see what is brought at Juventus, playing against a Villarreal side which likes to dominate, play the build from the back, and it was a silly mistake as the game started. The misplaced passes, and Juventus capitalized, and then Juventus went defensively, and then they allowed Villarreal to get closer to them, and Villarreal, I think credit to them, they kept pushing. Dani Perejo, very, very integral in their team. Danjuma, these are players who ask questions that it will be a very, very interesting return game in Turin.
Let's look at the Chelsea game, because I know someone would definitely ask me after the show to say, why didn't you talk about the Chelsea game? But let's look at Chelsea dominating Lille by 2-0, and Christian Pulisic there giving one of the best performances, and Kai Havertz on the score sheet as well. But let's just look at the statistics of that game, Augustine.
The defending champions, I think, got the job done. It wasn't an easy game. Chelsea played against a team which was looking to play on a counter, but I felt Chelsea controlled them very well, because they didn't give a lot of chances away. You could see Thomas Tuchel on this side. I think to me, they like to keep the ball. They like to keep the oppositions at bay, and I think credit must go to Kai Havertz. I think to me, he's living up to expectation this season. He had tough start to life at Stamford Bridge, but you can see he's doing the job for them. Even Pulisic getting on the score sheet. I think to me, this Chelsea side, they look like they'll get closer to the semi-finals, but they cannot win it again.
You have an argument after the show.
They can't defend it.
But let's look at the disappointing signs of Chelsea, Augustine, so far. Before we look at other games, let's look at Sao. We've got Sao and we've got one Romelu Lukaku. But the biggest disappointing so far for me, let's look at the performance that Sao used to give at Atletico Madrid.
I think to me, you look at the transfer market, Chelsea went in and brought Romelu Lukaku. You thought that guy was the guy who was going to lead them to the title because they needed that number 9 at Chelsea. And bringing in Saul Niguez, I think to me, gave them a lot of grit and control in midfield. Bringing someone who is very, very good, is combative, he works very well on and off the ball. He's a workaholic. Coming from a Diego Simeone side, you would expect he would do a job defensively and be the guy that would dominate play and dictate tempo. But you could see that he hasn't fit in very well at Chelsea, and he's really, really struggled. Saul Niguez. Same applies to Romelu Lukaku. I think to me, 7 goals at this particular time in the Premier League, I think it's a disappointing for a player which they paid, was it close to 100 million for Romelu Lukaku to bring him back at the Stamford Bridge. His attitude has been wrong. Let's just be honest. I think Chelsea, as a team, they create a lot of chances for Romelu Lukaku, but he's in front of goal. I think to me has been very, very disappointing. Maybe there's something to do with Chelsea and number 9s. I think to me, if you look at the last number 9s they have had, Gonzalo Higuain, he failed. Hernan Crespo, he failed. Alvaro Morata, he failed. Fernando Torres, he failed. Andrei Shevchenko, he failed. I think to me the only successful that come up is Diego Costa and Didier Drogba in recent years. They've spent a lot of money to bring in these top number 9s and they've failed to get the job done at Chelsea.
And looking at Zanaco had fallen. That was in the CAF Confederation Games, but they play Al-Ahly Tripoli. That's tomorrow, Augustine. Are we seeing a different result?
Last chance. This is the last chance for Zanaco. If they do not get the 3 points tomorrow against Al-Ahly Tripoli, I think to me it's curtains for Zanaco. I think to me this is the first time a Zambian opposition is playing a team from Libya. I think to me, if you look at their performances, I think in the last 2 games, I think the home game against CS Pyramids, I think the money back team, I think it was very, very disappointing. You look at the game against CS Vaccine, they lost it in the last 7 minutes of the game. I think to me, Zanaco have got this tendency of, as they are going to the end of the half, they lose concentration. It's something which kind of needs to address in his dressing room. Remember against Pyramids, they conceded just right before halftime. I think to me something which they can work on going against Al-Ahly Tripoli. You look, this table is still open. If Zanaco get a victory today against second place Al-Ahly Tripoli and hope for something to happen in the game against Pyramid and CS Vaccine, then we have those 3 games remaining will be finals. So it's about today for Zanaco. If they do not get the job done today, then then Zanaco are out.
Super Sunday tomorrow, as we are seeing a cup game final. That's in EFL, Augustine. That's Liverpool against Chelsea, a game that is highly anticipated. Who are you giving it to?
Oh, tough to call. I think to me these are top clubs in English football, top managers from Germany. The bad part about finals is that they are highly tactical. That's what we will see in tomorrow's game. It will be very, very tactical. It will be very, very cagey. They will try to cancel out each other. There are situations where we will see the game being boring at some point, and probably it will be decided by just a goal. Just a goal. I do not know who will win, but I will sit on the fence. I'll just hope it goes to penalties.
You are hoping it goes to penalties?
Yes, so that these clubs can only be separated by sport kicks.
But anyway, let's just take a look at a bit of some comments that we have here on our Facebook page, because we are also live. That's on our Facebook page, Camnet. You can follow it and you'll be able to get to that. But here is Dennis Chiwaya, who is saying, he's commenting on the question of the day, which is the women's national team. And he's saying, I think they have a chance to do well, considering the performances they have been putting up in the past 1 year or 2. I confidently will make us proud as a nation. It's more of a lot of people now are having a lot of confidence in the women's national team, Augustine, compared to the men.
Yeah, I think to me, because these ladies are doing very well, we have to be honest. I think to me, qualifying at the Olympics, it was history in the making for the Polo Polo, and now they are back at the AFCON. We had qualified when it was hosted in Namibia. We went there, eliminated that in the group stage. I think it was a tough group against the likes of South Africa. We've gained experience. I think we've got a lot of players who are playing big leagues now. We have got a couple of players playing in Spain, and Margaret Bulemu signed a 2-year deal in China. Barbara Banda in China. I think to me it gives you a lot of confidence when you have got these top players going to play top leagues across the world.
Due to time, Augustine, your final remarks.
Yeah, I think from here straight to Barcelona Academy, I think the Atletico are playing National Assembly in the Provincial Division 1 game. I think to me it's all about football, and we'd like to thank all the viewers out there for tuning in. We always appreciate your effort, and big thanks to the entire production team.
We've just come to the end of the show, and for one, Uncle Rapson, he's busy covering 1 or 2
He's praying that Ghana win.
Yeah, he's fasting. Augustine is saying Uncle Rapson is fasting and visiting the mountains where he's praying Ghana to win. Uncle Rapson, if you're watching, all the best with your prayers, and hopefully Ghana carries the day. But then we've come to the end of the show, and to all our viewers, thanks for staying glued, and you can continue watching Camnet TV, because Katamanda or Amazing is coming on your screens with the weekly gospel show. For me, Amos, and the whole entire production team, it's bye for now. See you next week.